automated testing.
So hello, yep. So testing, automated testing. So Gentoo is no longer about just compiling, but testing. And where do we touch to go to the next one? Okay. So we're going to talk about testing and why we think testing is important, and more important, why automated testing is important. First thing is, okay, we already do testing, so you don't think we don't do testing, or we should be doing testing. And we do it through quite a few different ways. Developers are supposed to run features tests, so that when they build packages, they are running the tests of the packages. There are quite a few QA tools that people use, from Ripman to those who use package core. You can use speedcheck. I know Palutis has some QA tools that, unfortunately, I don't know the name. We even have an URL where quite a few tests, the results of a few tests are displayed. Arch teams are always running tests when they stable the tree. Then we have people who try to do a lot of package building for the entire tree, and mostly Diego and Patrick, and they tend to fill many bugs after running that. And we even have the release engineering team, which is every week trying to build stages and CDs. So we're also testing, because the result of that depends on the state of the tree. Whatever you guys want to jump in. So why more testing? What do we want it for? Well, first thing is, if you go look at Bugzilla, we keep getting bugs. So apparently something is still broken, and we should try to improve that. And why do things break? Well, new packages or new versions, changed code, and yeah, many times that brings new bugs. Or, okay, you have a package which is a nice package, it works very well, it's stable, no one is touching it, but oh yeah, one of its dependencies changed an API or whatever, and the package stopped working, right? Yes, Graaff, when we were talking, mentioned it would be great for teams to be able to do automatic tests and see, well, renaming a package is enough to get a new version? If it is, great. Again, Relang, stages failed to build. Some of you may have noticed that from June to September, we didn't have any new stages for AMD 64 and x86. Some of you may have even filled some bugs or have sent me some email about it. What was the point on the next one? It's escaping me now. The build stages impede complicated installations. To be honest, I don't recall what was the point of that one. Yeah, skip it. We already do. CDs fail to build a lot, or they don't boot, or as it's happening, and some of you may have noticed, they don't have their own directory, and okay, service failed to start. And so you fill a bug and tell me, well, I can't install Gentoo. Why aren't you fixing that? Or they don't support some hardware or features. And that's why we think we need more testing and better testing. And again, most importantly, automated testing. We can have great testing. We can have all the tools to test. If we don't automate it, we're depending on someone to do it. And yeah, we many times fail. So it's better to rely on the machine than to rely on us. In our view, what kind of things can we test? Packages. With all the changes they have, yeah, we want to test if packages are building, we want to test if we can build new versions, if they work on the testing tree, if they work on the stable tree. I want to test stages, so when you try to install with a stage, you don't have to open a bug and tell me, well, your stage is all nice and dandy, but I can't use it. So can you please try to put a stage that is actually working? I also want to do that for CDs, and then Fabian.
Yeah, that's where I come in, because of course this is all about main Gentoo, and then hey, we also have prefix. So yeah, okay. So basically the prefix thing, yeah, but now I cannot see the point. Okay, well, the prefix stages are basically very different, and we will come back to it later, but also like in packages. We're now testing packages basically on AMD64 and x86 and maybe on ARM, but in prefix it's even more complicated because you're running on maybe a completely different operating system, which means it won't compile for many different reasons than just an architecture. So that's what I, from a different angle, would also like to test, like in the same way that if you have a package and it works, it happens to work on AMD64 Linux, that doesn't mean that it really works on AMD64 or x86, x64, as we call it, Solaris. That's not true at all. So, and in the stages that we have, they are like the stages that Gentoo uses for the normal builds. But we start basically from a 3 snapshot, and we would like to know if you actually can still use that snapshot to build a new installation. But we come back to that later. Yeah.
So, what were we testing for, or what are we currently testing for, or perhaps we should say what should we be testing for? Do packages build? Some of them don't. So we're looking at that. Do they pass their own tests? That's where features test comes in, because quite a few packages in tree don't pass. Whether that in itself is an error or not, well, it depends. I work on the KDE team. For years, it was absolutely nonsense to rely on their tests. So we didn't care. The tests didn't build. So on that, we depend on the upstream packages. Do reverse dependencies build? Okay, I have my nice packages table. No one is touching it. It works. But I updated one of its steps. So someone should have tested if my package was affected or not by that. Does it work? You can run all the tests you want. You can all the automated building tests you want. That doesn't mean that whatever you build actually works. Your editor may compile, but can you edit tests with it? That's where the large teams come in.
Yeah, and actually on that point, and it is not prefix related because I also maintain some normal packages, but for instance, if you ask for stabilization of a thing like a mail transfer agent, like Exim, then I don't know what the Arch teams do, but I'm sure that some Arch teams, that keyword, well, let's call it Arch team S, that keyword like several arches at the same time, that they probably did not test Exim at all, like sending email, see if it can deliver anything or whatever. And to be honest, yeah, that's pretty hard to do. But it is a problem because you actually rely on somebody saying that it should work, but you don't know if it actually really works on a different system, a different keyword, or wherever it is.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
Again, it's complex because does MySQL build? I can say it. Does MySQL run? I can run SQL command in it, but I don't have one of those petabytes installations.
Exactly. So you don't even know if the workload is fine. So then you have to rely, I guess, also on the upstream source in itself. But for the Gentoo patches that we apply, we don't know actually if it really works. Pretty bad, actually, I would say.
Okay, and then sometimes we may not pay too much attention, but Portage already has quite a few QA checks. For some of the stuff you might know better than me, Fabian, because I don't recall specific examples, but for stuff like the way the code is written, that generally means an error. Or for instance, the...
You're referring to the, well, yeah, actually I think Mike Freisinger wrote them. They are like these simple tricks when we went from 32 bits basically into the 64 bits area. Some of you might still remember that one. Well, pointers were kind of hard, and you shouldn't assume that a pointer is 32 bits basically. And for that you have warnings that if you have something like a function that is unknown, the compiler will basically substitute it with something, and that might be horribly wrong. depending on whether you're on big endian or little endian. So such a warning, when you see it, Portage will actually treat it as a hard error, because it usually means a crash at runtime because you just have a wrong pointer dereferencing. So those kind of checks are indeed in there, but they're compile time checks. So basically all of this QA is based on static knowledge, static looking at how something works, not really if it will work. There are some other changes that actually look like runtime environments, which has to do with dynamic linking. So if you are linking against a package, a library actually, can you actually find this library at runtime? You can verify that in some ways, but that's very limited, so it's still rather static. Yeah.
Just another thing that we do. So what else should we test? Do you want to talk about this one, Graaff?
So one of the things that we can do, in addition to testing what we already have, is also test all the new things that are coming out, because that can really help us to quickly bump all the things in the tree that are not going to be problematic and leave all the other stuff for later when we have more time to do inspections for that. I think a good example of that is the field of Ruby where I work myself, where pretty much every package has a fairly extensive test suite. And well, if it passes, you can be pretty sure that it works more or less as intended. And we could easily add it to the tree. And it would be nice to have dashboards that just say, okay, we've tested all these versions and these are okay, these aren't okay, you can skip these versions and so on. Which means you can, well, save time by having to do all that manually.
And that goes to the next point, which is if a package, if you can build a new version of a package with your existing GIBL, then that's a good candidate for a version bump, right?
Yeah, you can just promote that particular version directly and not have to try all the versions manually. Yeah.
Did I skip one? I don't think so. If I can find the right button, no. Okay. Does the CD boot? Well, that's a pretty important question. We need a way to test it. Yeah, sure, I can pick up an ISO, a CD, put it on, if it's an ISO, I can pass it to a KVM or something, but right now I would have to do that manually. Okay, you're depending on me having the time and the will to do that. It would be good if you could automate that, because that's something we really would like to know. Does it support hardware? Well, AMD 64, x86, unfortunately, as you all know, have a ton of different hardware. So for us, Erlang, to be able to test that, no. We can test some generic support, and yeah, we probably will have to rely on users to provide some feedback and telling us, well, you know, the Intel network card driver isn't working. I can do anything about it, but I can poke the kernel team and, hey guys, is there a problem? Can we fix it? Can we get a new version? Can upstream fix that? Okay, when you started, right now, the last version, I don't know if I already pushed a fixed version of the CD with the run directory or not. If I didn't, if you pick the last version in there, you'll try to boot and you'll see a lot of services failing to boot. Why? There is no FARDIR. And because there is no FARDIR, quite a few services are trying to create files under slash, sorry, not FARDIR, rendir, trying to create the files under slash file slash run something, and that is supposed to be a symlink to slash run that doesn't exist, and so it doesn't go too well. So we need to test that kind of thing. Okay, if all else is working, and if we have an automated system, can we do a secure shell login to the new box? Actually, that one needs to be reviewed, since we currently don't enable secure shell until you set the password for root, if I recall correctly. And if we can do that, can we extract and change root to a known good stage? So let's assume we are able to have a record of stages that are working. Can I get to a new CD, pick up one of those change root, one of those stages, and change root into it, so that you can, in fact, install a system? Okay, the first one is following, but Sometimes you can't run, you can change it to a stage. It's not a problem with the CD, it's a problem with the stage itself. Can we update it? Sometimes we have a stage that if you try to update it, it will fail. It didn't build correctly. So we need to ensure that we can actually update it. Can we rebuild it? It might be possible to update a few packages in there to the latest version, but you might not be able to really rebuild it. Can we install a system with the stage? If the stage didn't add the run dir, it would fail the same way. When you would try to install, and it would fail then to boot. Okay, the next one.
It says prefix.
Yeah, it says, okay, so sorry. Yeah, I was sleeping, yeah. Yeah, well, I completely agree with Jorge. Yeah. So basically the steps that you see, like the emerging, getting up to a system and so on and so forth, that's very similar to how you would do a bootstrap on a prefix system. So a prefix system basically starts with a snapshot of the portage tree, and from there on it starts emerging certain packages in a very specific order to get something that is not just not fragile enough to actually get portage running and start emerging packages itself up to the point that it can actually emerge system. So any change that is made in this, actually in the system configuration changes things. So if you have a snapshot that you know that works, the packages are the same, but as soon as you actually update your snapshot and you try to re-emerge system, does it actually still work? And surprisingly enough, that very often breaks. So you need to change, or you actually need to update your snapshot because the version that you have in your snapshot of a certain package, like Python, is too old. So you cannot upgrade it to something else, or you don't have the fix that you should have had, something else. So it's, then you just need to update actually the snapshots. But it's very similar to the, actually the mainline problems in that sense. Yeah, so we would like to know and actually see that on a daily basis, or maybe even weekly, to see what actually happens, what has been committed right now, if that actually still works or not.
Does it support the new API?
Yeah, well, I just figured out no.
No, I'm not asking if you support 5. I'm just asking, or I'm saying, well, the package doesn't support API, since you were talking about Python, right? Out to run them. Okay. This is where we want help, I'm sure. Basically, okay, not basically. We think at least this would be a good idea. We need to have automated inner-box texting. Yes, we like the work Diego and Patrick do. They do a great job. It would be even better if we could get it automated. They're just humans. They have limited time, they fail, they have a real life. And it's better if we can create something automatic that people can use. And even it would be even better if we could schedule. Okay, instead of one of us telling Diego, hey Diego, do you mind testing if the new glibc version breaks the tree? 2.16, can you build system with it? It would be better if you could tell the system, hey, you know glibc 2.16? Keyword it. Build. Does it break? Do we have match flames in it? It would be good for keywording, but it could also be good for stabling. So yes, we want Arch teams help, but Arch teams would have an easier life if you could tell it, okay, you know that thing called KDE 492, do you mind marking that stable and see if that works with the stable tree? And give feedback so someone can work on it. If you guys want to say something. Okay. Okay, Erlang. Well, for Erlang, quite a few things would be a lot easier if you could use virtualized environments, because it's obviously a lot easier to test things in QEMU than to have something test on real hardware, because we need a person to test real hardware. And it might be possible, I'm not saying it is, if any of you knows how to do it, I'd like to hear, using virtualized solutions. Because that's something that for stages and CDs would, in my view, be very useful.
And it says central reporting solution dashboard because There's a lot of variety in all the different testing that goes on. You'll imagine that there will be a lot of different systems that are doing specific types of testing. So it would be great if we could have a centralized dashboard for each package where you could collect all this information. Some of it you could pull together using plugins.
And if you don't mind, we have packages and the rest. I would also like to have a central dashboard telling me, well, this stage built, this stage fell that way.
Yeah. It would be great to have some plugins, for example, to automatically pull out all the bugs from Bugzilla and have them in the list and see other assorted information, the fact that there are new versions and so on. We have all that information available at the moment, but it's all scattered throughout different locations. But also I see a role there for things like tinderbox testing or testing of new versions, because in my mind it doesn't make any sense to report a bug if tests for a version failed that we don't have in the tree yet. But I would like to know about it so I can decide whether or not to spend time on it. And pulling all that into a singular dashboard would be great. I think it would be a good project to really pull together a lot of information that we have.
Yeah, and I'm sure most developers would prefer we give them a single link, they can go check things, then we start flooding their mailboxes with, well, this failed, this failed, this failed, this failed. Suddenly you're going all screaming, stop spamming us. And so we don't want spam news, but I'm pretty sure most of us would like to have somewhere we could go and see, well, how are things? Are we good? Are we bad? And now, the hard time, the hard point. We're not here to tell you how to do this. We're here to ask you, how can we do it? How can you help us do this? Anyone wants to do this? Anyone has an idea? I think most of us, at least Gentoo developers, would agree that some of this needs to be done, or would like to use something like this. Does anyone have any ideas? Does anyone want to share anything? Help with anything?
Well, I was actually working or trying to think of a way to do quite similar thing, because I'm trying to build customized stage force. I'm not a developer yet, but I want to have custom system prepared. And quite often it happens, especially when I build the testing branches, that there are persistent breakages and so on. And I was looking for a tool that could automatically skip those if they are known as bugs, or
if you're trying to do it with Catalyst, you'll have a hard time, because Catalyst is supposed to, that is, build it according to this plan. And this plan depends on the state of the tree. So if there's a problem in the tree, what you're going to get is the guy saying, well, I tried.
Yeah.
But what you can do with that is go nagging the people that broke it and tell them, you see, you broke my stuff. Can you please fix it? But if you don't mind, in your point, we currently don't do it.
At the moment, I have a log processor for e-info, which collects stuff that broke and masks it and tries again. Well, it's a start.
Okay, for Catalyst, again, I understand what you're doing, and I understand can be good for you. For Catalyst, that's not our goal.
Yeah,
but just saying that Catalyst for that wouldn't work. But one thing that you're talking about, and we are doing what I want to do, is we currently only build stage 1, 2, and 3, and people only get 3. We're talking about changing something that will in fact lead to us building stage 4, but we'll provide them as if they were stage 3s, because the idea is taking some things out of system and only have them on the final stages. But I think one thing we should do is consider building custom stage 4s. That's something we would have to need to discuss. But, okay, would it make sense for us to try to build at least once a month a LAMP server?
What?
A LAMP server. Would it make sense we at least try to build once a month a stage 4 that installs MySQL, PHP, and so on? A DB server, okay, we'll have to talk with people, try to determine what would be interesting, because obviously we can't have stage 4s for everything. I have serious doubts that it would make any sense to do that for desktop stuff. That's my opinion. but, oh, battery, one of, okay. Personally, I don't think it would make much sense to try to build GNOME, KDE, and whatever, because they're huge, and there are other ways to do it. But at least for specific custom setups, I think it will make sense for us to try to build it now and again, so we have an idea if it's working or not.
One thing that I briefly looked at a while ago was that besides release testing, one interesting thing is that automated testing of outdated systems, for example, have a start point that is 1 year old and then have it running to see if it can update to the latest version of the tree or not.
That's another thing I'm probably going to propose one of these days. I don't know how many of you are going to like it, but since 2008.0 we stopped having version releases. That is good on one side, it's bad on the other. One of the things I recall when I was looking for VPS server about a year ago was that many of them still had Gentoo with 2008.0 stage. If you try to install that, you're only going to get headaches. So I think what we should be doing is, if we can get some automated system that reports the status, let's define two moments on the year, January, July, February, August, I don't care. Let's look at the last month. Are there any good stages? Let's market the last stage. And let's have testing that always tries to ensure that, so if I'm in July and the last good stage is from January, let's ensure that the last January and the other from the last month, the last year, so the last two non-good ones, can be updated. Anything that breaks on those two, people should be forced to fix it, so that we ensure that people can use systems that are at least 1 year old. Let's stop stop playing with Bash and Python and Portage and trying to make people's life miserable. Because currently, I know it can be miserable. And I think none of us is winning anything with that. Do any of you guys want to make any specific? Yeah, talk, Marcus. I know.
Hello.
Oh, yes.
Well, as a developer, I'd like to have a very powerful virtual machine so I can do my own testing targeted on my own packages, because few of us have laptops or very slow personal computers. So right now we don't have any automation for a single developer, so I was wondering if the infra team is able to provide such virtual machines anytime soon.
That's what I was going to point you to. I was saying you're right, but infra. But Marcus, I know what you say, and just to be
you want to answer it?
just to be complete, there is still an open bug about it, and they know about it.
Okay, so we have been very recently given a system. How do you call such a system? Anyways, it's the Kinetic cluster management system where we can create virtual machines. We got it. Everything is set up. So the only thing left is us to start creating machines actually. And there are little things that we haven't discussed, such as how we are going to do with those machines, if we are going to use them under our configuration management system, or we are giving them to the developers as they are. And probably we are going to do it both ways based on the case. But anyways, everything is set up, so soon we will be able to provide machines to the developers.
So, thanks, Infra. Don't forget, Alec wanted to say something. Okay, Alec, I want you to talk. Yes.
Burned, okay. Yeah, I think in terms of the kind of earlier slide and this one, getting a system where we can just ask a machine to build a package is a slightly complicated problem, because from the infra side, we're basically running arbitrary user code, and that really sucks if you upload a package that A, tries to own the virtual machine, or B, tries to spam people. I think we can get around that possibly with some, restrictions in what's possible, particularly with the new C group stuff. You can get separate network stacks, and we can have firewalls and things like that. I'm not aware of any open source stuff that handles a lot of that. There's definitely automation in starting VMs and things like that, but a lot of it is VMs that are running code you control and not running code other people control. Although there is OBS, I don't know what they're doing to do that, but they definitely build other people's code, and so does GitHub, I believe. Maybe they don't care, but we do.
No,
So there's
OBS
definitely problems there, but I would like to investigate that.
OBS is different.
It's awesome. We should use OBS to do this, yes.
Just to get to your point, my idea isn't running custom. I understand what you're saying, but the point is running what we have in the tree. So I'm talking about let's test the stages that are built on our hardware, our CDs, and the package we have in the tree. I understand your point, but if before we get to that, that means we already don't trust what we are building. We probably shouldn't. So if we're worried about running our stages or about running our packages, then someone else is running them. It isn't just us. We are telling our users run them. But yeah, I understand your point.
I have some point here. I have to continue with the previous questions about, let's say, some old servers or something like that. Update system, there are most not so recent installed. Yes, I'm here. I am on the second side of the barricade. I use many times stable servers and system like that, and this is why I have discouraged a lot of people not to use Gentoo on servers, because it's not good enough to, let's say, take care or let's say keep some servers from someone else that prepared that before. And the point of view I'm very missing in Gentoo is something like super stable. I see there some, let's say, very good news when the QA teams now are working and the situation getting better. But I think that they are many times focused on the compilation and things like that, but not on the running things. And I think that there maybe the compilation can be done automatically, and maybe the QA teams can focus on running, or let's say make some next stage of stable packages. Or, let's say stable and long term, or I don't know, but I think that there should be some, maybe, I don't know, I don't know how to say a question, but...
Okay, I'll see.
Do you mind if I answer that?
No, please, go ahead.
Okay, since I'm working professionally on QA on another distro, on SUS Enterprise specifically, I have to say that it's almost how to say it? Let's say almost impossible to have stable packages when there are so many different binaries that can be produced based off our use flux and other optimization that we can do and other choices that we have. So you can't get QA, you can get something that we can call QA, but it's not going to be QA, for sure.
If you don't mind, on my view, this is my view, I'm a Gentoo developer, but I'm just one, not talking in the name of the distribution. I would say that if you want Gentoo on servers, you can have it. Quite a few of us run Gentoo on servers, but I'd also say that if you want to run Gentoo on servers, you're going to be prepared to maintain them. If you're trying to rely on third parties, we're not your choice. We're not SUSE Linux Enterprise, we're not Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We're 250 guys. Some of us say that we are about 150 active guys. and none of us is paid. Red Hat and SUSE get paid to have support teams. We don't. Yes, we like to get things working. We do our best to get things working, but this is not my job. I'm not paid to do this, so I have so much time I can put on this, and I don't want to trick you into thinking that we're going to be able to offer you enterprise service when I don't think at the moment we can, at least.
You know, this is sort of like a, this is a personal kind of point, and that we are like volunteers, and that's true. But I think you just said it just before. Basically, your own statement that if we are going to have like sort of points in time, and we want to be able to get from that snapshot point, which is at least half a year. And if we are doing that, and we're just going to, let's say, be not so nice to people who actually make it impossible to actually get an upgrade from one point to the other, I think we're going to help people like you, or that expect things like you, a lot, because that means that we get something like a half year or a year upgrade that you should be able to do. And maybe even if you take snapshots for a while, you can even go for a longer trip. From snapshot to snapshot, I don't know, but I think that would already help to get a little bit of the amount of, let's say, stability that some distributions can and will provide that we cannot.
I would say that mostly would improve our current stable system.
Yeah.
That wouldn't address the question about the super stable system, which is, for Gentoo, I think we're failing that and we need to fix it. But our goal for a long time has been, let's try to ensure 1 year compatibility. We can't ensure 5 years compatibility. So someone that needs that kind of stuff, it's not going to be easy for us to support. That's my view.
I think that was not the point to make some, let's say, absolutely or copy some distributions like Debian or Red Hat. It's not the, and the idea of some snapshots is very nice. It's some let's say something I tried when I got some servers. I try to do myself. Let's say doing some snapshots and doing my testing and doing things like that. But I don't think there, or I think there are some, let's say, very important packages like Python and Portage and things like that that can be. I don't think that every package must be stable, but
the three of us agree with you that we're currently in a bad state. We need to improve it. That part we all agree. The question is how long can we improve it? How much better can we make it?
We have an internal problem in that sense that we solved in a way, but yeah. You're definitely, you can talk about it much later.
Anything else? Oh, Patrick. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. First, if I wanted to know more about the way you do the testing, is it somewhere online, some resources where I can find out more, or it does not exist?
Okay. It exists.
Okay. Well,
I think some of the processors are at least or should be documented on dev manual. Marcus, do you have anything you can share about that side? I think the QA tools code is in a repo somewhere. I don't know if Alec or Theo can confirm it, but I think it's published. I don't know if it's on Git overlays Gentoo.org, that whatever is running there, it's published, so people can get the code that does that. Yeah, sure. A quick first step that could come out of it is create a page on Wiki about testing. That seems like an easy first step. Let's try to collect information about testing, what we do, links to where information are, and ideas. Collect ideas about what to do. Marcus?
Yeah, there is the QA script that is on the Git overlays, I think. but I don't think there is a dedicated page where we explain what we do for QA. There is the QA page, but doesn't say much about the testing, just...
No, my idea was that I think that the code, so if you go, it's not here, but if you go to the QA results page, the link I showed you before, can you find it? If I recall correctly, the code that is used on the server to run those tests is there. So at least those, not this one. Where was it? Oh, yeah, sorry. So if you go to that site, there are some results there. The code for the results there, I think it's in the Git overlays. But that's just that. We do a lot more than that. Marcus, do you recall if on the dev manual or somewhere else we have something about instructions to developers, new developers, about how to test?
No.
So you don't remember, or there?
No, I think the dev manual has no information on how to develop your own scripts, or if there is a framework you can use to develop your own scripts. We don't have anything like that.
I have the strong impression we had a section there about testing evils, and that it mentioned something besides reprimand full, but...
Well, I'm quite certain at some point it says that fears test on and run that, but beyond that, like for more in-depth testing instructions, if you want to contribute as testers, what R's teams list for our specific testing, that's one resource. Of course, the answer to if we have a central landing page for all testing involved information, the answer is certainly no.
And Marcus, you might recall that better than me. I think that the MD64 AT page had some kind of instructions about how to test for Arch testers. Right?
There are some basic information saying what C flags you need to use, what features, but apart from reprimand full or use the test feature, there are not much there.
Aren't there any comments there about using GAT or TAT or some of those tools that someone created?
This is like in a script, like pulling all the dependencies and rebuild them. If you like marking a library stable, then you need to rebuild all the reverse dependencies. So this script is actually doing that for you instead of doing it manually.
So about specific tests, no. About how to run some of the tests or some of the tools, we may have scatter. And one thing that perhaps would be great is if someone would volunteer to create a wiki page for testing and at least try to collect that information. That at least would be an improvement, I think, over the current situation. And if anyone finds things or has ideas and well, they don't recall you, well, we're all online, we all have emails, poke us. Seems like you should poke first, Fabian. You wanted something else, right? Okay, I'll learn this one.
Okay. Well, more specifically, I would be interested in your experience with testing or running packages, because, well, to explain, I no longer use Gentoo. I'm from an extremely small experimental distro that you probably don't know. But, well, I gave a talk today, but never mind. Okay, and there's no problem for us with testing building, and that the build farm does that quite good. And also the system, the default system configuration is quite easily automatically buildable. So I think we have some virtual machine tests for even some network services they try to test, and it somehow it can catch probably some mistakes, but very often the packages break in the way that they build okay. Their own tests, if they have some upstream tests, they pass, or they often don't have any, but they just don't run. It is enough to run with any argument, and it doesn't link, or well, usually it dazzling when they build, but something gets wrong very easily, and I don't have much clue how to test automatically this.
My individual opinion is that for runtime tests, that's very hard. We can try to automate compile tests, and I was trying to get that for runtime tests, but for stages and for issues, since it's a little bit easier because you at least have an idea of what we want. Can a CD boot? Can I get to a shell? Yeah. Can I see if the service is started correctly? How do I know if a text editor works? What does it mean to say that the text editor works? Can I insert text? Can I delete text? Can I override text? Can I apply formatting to text? And we're talking about an editor.
These things rather belong to upstream, I believe, not to distribution, but it's missing. I think, well...
Actually, there are actually tools that can handle that to some extent, because there are testing tools that can easily test command line tools. Where you just have scripted response to say, okay, if I execute this command, I have to see this in the output and so on. So it's possible to create test suites like that. I'm not sure if we should, how much effort we should put into that as a distribution, but it would be interesting to play around with that a bit. And in terms of test suites not working, always file bugs upstream, right? And they should try to provide something sane to verify the workings of their own applications. But
well, the first thing you're going to need to that is for them to, or some of them to admit there are more distributions in the world than one or two.
yeah.
Because if they only think that everyone has slips in the same place, or that everyone has the same base slips or whatever.
True.
Yeah, well, we don't even have a /user.
Well, you don't have /user, and you have UDEF feed?
Yeah.
UDEF.
UDEF we have.
You use R instead of /.
Other questions?
Anyone else wants to? Well, first off, we're not just after questions. If you guys have ideas, please. We're asking for ideas.
Well, I was, first quick question, can I run the upstream tests after the package has been installed?
You ran that before.
Well,
tests are supposed to be.
Is there a possibility to run it after package has been installed?
No, it makes no sense. You do that after compiling it, right?
Okay.
No, and then there's the interesting case that we might not want to lose much time on it, but a few packages for testing purposes require this world than the next one in about time and dependencies.
Well, usually package can break for more reasons than because it has been installed, but for example, some dependency can have changed. So if I take...
That's a reverse dependency test in our case. You have a package that is working, it's good, and you change a dependency. When you change a dependency, you're supposed to make sure that all the packages that build against it still work. What you may find, for instance, are incompatible ABA changes without the version increase, and that's a mistake in upstream.
Yeah, well, yes,
and
it's
a
mistake.
We can go around that. If you're talking about auto tools, if you're talking about auto tools, and someone doesn't update their own name.
There are, for example, scripting languages like Python and Ruby and packages in them. We usually ship the testing suite and it is installed runtime, so it is quite possible to run it.
In Gentoo, if you, for instance, install a new version of Python, you know you have to run Python updater afterwards, or it won't work until we aren't able to change dependency syntax to a way that can express that. But Well, let's say that's beyond the scope we're trying to do here, right?
Yeah. Well, the other question I wanted to have is if, well, it would be feasible to build something like maybe GLSA variant for, let's say, quirks or workarounds for known bugs. So, well, let's say I have...
Can you please repeat it? I didn't understand what you meant.
Well, I was thinking of infrastructure similar to what we have now in GLSA. Yeah, because there's list of let's say security problems with known workarounds.
I'm going to ask you to pass the microphone to your left side. Someone might be able to answer to your question.
You know, I was more wondering if for general bugs, for example, I have seen a lot of packages not built with debug use flags or docs or something like that. If well, for me it would be, for example, interesting to have infrastructure in place to, for example, temporarily mask the use flag or the package version or something like that, and have it linked to a specific bug number in Bugzilla, so I can check when the bug has been closed, so I can remove the mask.
Okay, I'm not seeing how we could somehow do that, but if someone has an idea. Okay, Patrick. Fabian, Graaff, if you guys want, you can go a little bit down. So people might start thinking that you're running away.
Run away. For downgrading packages temporarily, that's already should be done. Like if there's a major regression in stable, they should already do it from on the Gentoo side. But if you're talking about minor bugs that you could link, well, I guess one could easily make it more easily parsable from Bugzilla and what package is in question. Currently it's just in title in no standard format, but if that was a separate field and that would have to match proper atoms, then it would be easy to list all the bugs per for the certain version. If there's like an affected field or something. And if that's something that interests you, I guess you should just open a bug for infra. To first start with the field as optional, and then if it proves useful, then we can start thinking about it being mandatory.
No more bugs for infra.
I will do that.
Yeah, one question. Did you wanted some comments on the portage and Python stuff or not?
No, but I do want to to pop in an idea basically about the testing itself, because one of the things that I would like to do, for instance, is I would like to in every rsync generation you basically build a new tree variant, so you basically have the delta between the previous and the new one. And I can just keep that delta, and out of the delta you can see these evils are modified, these are added, and these are removed. Well, the removed you don't really care about. The ones that are modified you care about a little, and the ones that are new you can actually use to basically schedule a compile test of the new e-builds, because when somebody actually just bumps an e-build into a new version, it might be interesting, disregarding any keywords or actually even looking at keywords first, if this package actually compiles on all kind of platforms just out of the box with the default use flag setting. And that way you could have a sort of an automatic flow, which is, and you could immediately report automatically a bug when this actually sort of fails, which means somebody bumped a package and it fails, so it should have been bumped, or it shouldn't have been a keyworded, I don't know what. Something like that, to just automatically find kind of issues and recompile stuff if it is updated to see if it is still working fine. If you do it on a fast box, you might as well just get something out of it pretty easily. I see on, well, okay, not. You do, yeah. Okay, we don't, so that's what we would like to do.
So we are out of time.
I'm sorry, I'm cut off.
So thank you guys.